Is it possible and is it safe for us to see fast weight loss results, losing a lot of weight in a short period of time? Conventional wisdom will tell us that losing half a pound to 1 pound per week is optimal, right? And that's still 4 pounds per month at most. That's still pretty good. But then we have that one friend that loses 20 pounds in his first month, a bunch of belly fat, and a bunch of overall body fat loss. You're thinking, man, how can I get those results without putting myself in a bad position and doing it effectively, sustainably, and safely? And that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do in this video today. My name is Bobby O'Brien. I help career-driven men all around the world lose their stubborn belly fat and lose overall body fat and optimize their health without counting or restricting a single calorie. And I've helped a lot of men lose a lot of body fat within their first month working with me in a very short period of time. Like Steve, who lost 14 pounds in his first 9 days, and then 20 pounds in his first month, and then 30 pounds in his first 2 months. Then Brian, who lost 10 pounds in his first 3 weeks working with me one-on-one. Dion, who lost 12 pounds in his first month working with me one-on-one. And then Chris, who lost 36 pounds in 3.5 months, north of 10 pounds of that fat loss was within his first month working with me as well. He started at 236, got down to 200, then we worked together again, got him down to the 190s, and now he's at 183, and he doesn't even need to work with me anymore. So the first thing that you guys have to do that a lot of you guys aren't doing right now, if you want to see quick, fast, and sustainable safe results like that I just mentioned there, is you have to increase your dietary fat intake, eating more in the way of saturated fat and monounsaturated fat from animals. Monounsaturated fat from marine sources, saturated fat from animals, mammals like cows, cattle, lamb, red meat, etc. And of course, there's going to be certain exceptions with certain people that have a difficult time assimilating saturated fat from the human body, have a difficult time breaking it down, or may experience some brain fog or some lethargy after they consume some saturated fat. But most people can pull it off and feel absolutely fine and not have any sort of issues, right? Especially without the risk of cardiovascular disease, hypertension, stroke, type 2 diabetes, like these horror stories and mainstream conventional advice will really tell us here, right? And to be honest, there's not a single randomized controlled trial or any sort of controlled study that shows us that saturated fat consumption can cause really any of these things without there being some sort of underlying variables that question the research that does potentially show that. And most of the research that quote-unquote causes type 2 diabetes, stroke, heart attack, etc. from saturated fat consumption is really an observational study, an epidemiological study, basically a survey study that doesn't control every one of the variables, and they'll still say that X causes Y, saturated fat causes you to have a heart attack or suffer from some level of cardiovascular risk, when the research isn't randomized, it's not controlled, and it's a survey study, and they still use that language. And if you want more information on this topic, on why saturated fat consumption is not dangerous, especially for the overwhelming majority of the population, then I highly recommend for you to click the link near the middle of the video description, where I'll reference a video of me talking about just that, talking about why saturated fat consumption is not to be something to worry about. It's not something that you should be worried about at all whatsoever. And my clients lost a whole lot in the way of body fat by eating more in the way of saturated fat and monounsaturated fat too, and they're doing just fine. If their blood work is great, especially everything outside of total cholesterol and LDL, if we're going to talk about the lean mass hyperresponders here, there's going to be certain exceptions for people who see a really big elevation in LDL or a big elevation in total cholesterol, but their triglycerides look great, their HDL looks great, their blood sugar, their blood glucose looks great, and the rest of their inflammatory biomarkers, if anything, all improve, and LDL goes up a little bit and total cholesterol goes up a little bit. At the end of the day, who cares if you're seeing amazing, consistent, sustainable, and fast weight loss results and you're feeling good by eating more in the way of saturated fat and your total cholesterol and LDL goes up a little bit. Of course, that's a completely different topic in terms of lean mass hyperresponders, noticing a big elevation in LDL or a strong elevation in total cholesterol, and why I don't think it's something for everybody to worry about, keyword everybody, maybe certain individuals, but Once again, that is a different topic. And for most of you guys, you can certainly get away with eating fattier cuts of steak, ribeyes, New York strips, etc., and eating the saturated fat and seeing more in the way of weight loss results. Because one thing that many people do not talk about is that we get most of our fat-soluble vitamins, our bioavailable fat-soluble vitamins, from saturated fat. Vitamin A, D, E, and K2, otherwise known as choline. And if you're not eating enough in the way of monounsaturated fat from marine sources, fattier cuts of fish, then you're certainly going to be missing out on these fat-soluble vitamins that you can only get from your diet. So cutting out saturated fat and all fat altogether and eating a low-fat diet is really not going to be beneficial for you to start with, because you're not going to be getting those 4 essential fat-soluble vitamins, 4 essential nutrients there. And you're also going to be missing out on some very, very amazing weight loss benefits. Obviously, all those guys that I just mentioned there lost a whole lot in the way of body fat by increasing their fat intake. And the reason why is because whenever you consume saturated fat or monounsaturated fat from fish, there's no glucose in either one of those fat sources. So you don't see an insulin response at all whatsoever. And insulin dictates how much body fat you will lose or gain depending on how high you elevate this hormone. If you elevate this hormone, it stays elevated for a long time, your likelihood of storing body fat is very, very high. If you don't get any sort of an insulin response at all whatsoever, then your likelihood of storing body fat is literally 0%, which is exactly what happens whenever we consume saturated fat from red meat or monounsaturated fat from some fattier cuts of fish. So that is why you should be eating more in the way of dietary fat. One of my clients, Michael, lost 25 pounds in a span of 2 months, 17 pounds in 5 weeks, and he certainly doubled down on his fat intake, and he saw a lot of body fat loss. Hollis, same thing. He lost about 8 pounds in his first month, now 20 pounds in 2 months, and he is also eating a whole lot in the way of dietary fat. The consumption, the macro distribution is certainly different for each individual person based on what they have access to, their limitations, their allergies, how much fat they should be consuming based off what macro split works best for them. Of course, we're not meticulously tracking macros. Most of these guys are just eating until they're physically satiated anyway. So just keep in mind the total grams of fat that each person should be consuming is going to be different based off those variables. And if you want me to fully customize a nutrition plan for you that is fully personalized to you and your physiology and what you have access to, your limitations and everything about you, and of course your weight loss goal, then I highly recommend for you to click the link near the top, middle, or bottom of the video description to speak with me directly to see if I can help you get a flat stomach, lose that stubborn belly fat, and fully optimize your health. So, number 2 now, second thing that you guys can do to see some fast weight loss results is target each muscle group each week like there's no tomorrow. Don't miss a single workout and really prioritize weight training over cardio. The main reason why I advise many of my clients, if not all of them, to really prioritize weight training over cardio is so they can get a bigger metabolic reaction. Running aimlessly on the treadmill or doing some cardio, long hours of cardio, where you're just moving against your body weight is the only resistance, you're not breaking down your muscle fibers and forcing them to regrow like you would be with weight training, you're not going to get as big of a metabolic reaction doing that, running aimlessly on the treadmill, in comparison to doing some goblet squats, lunges, some dumbbell pressing, etc. Right? So when you're targeting each muscle group each week like that, with training like that, where it's weight training oriented, one, it's going to work better for y'all's busy schedule because you're going to be able to get more done with your workouts in less time, and it's going to be more enjoyable because I'm sure many of you guys would rather do legs, do some weight training like goblet squats, Romanian deadlifts, calf raises, etc., than doing 45 minutes to an hour of aimless running on the treadmill or any other piece of cardio equipment. So it's more enjoyable, you'll save more time where it works for your busy schedule so you can allocate more time to work, family time, etc. And you're going to see more in the way of benefits from doing weight training anyway, because you're going to be getting a bigger metabolic reaction by doing weight training in comparison to doing cardio. I'm not saying for you guys to not do cardio at all, but if you had to prioritize one, I would certainly recommend for you guys to prioritize weight training, because all of those guys that I've mentioned so far are prioritizing weight training as well. And my client Joe, who lost 20 pounds in 2 months, once again, some very fast weight loss results, about 10 pounds per month, he was prioritizing weight training and he was targeting each muscle group each week. And Steve and Dion that I mentioned earlier that lost a whole lot of weight in a short period of time, Dion 12 pounds in his first month, and Steve literally, this is insane, but 14 pounds in his first 9 days on average. That was about what it was. He went from 244 to I think about 231 or 230. They completed 90% of their workouts, and they actually asked me to increase their workouts from 4 to 5. We added an extra leg day for each person here, for Dion and for Steve, just so they could get a bigger boost in their metabolic rate, because you get the biggest metabolic reaction by training legs out of any other muscle group. So that's another bonus tip for you guys. If you're gonna increase your volume with your workouts or add in an extra day, certainly add in a leg day so you can get a double big metabolic boost, so you can eat more of the foods that are serving you well and giving you a good insulin response, like the saturated fat and monounsaturated fat that we talked about earlier. Those two things combined are really going to help you see a lot of results very quickly if you take action. But that's what you have to do. You have to be an action taker and be someone that's going to move your health up on the priority list. And if you're not, then of course this is not going to work out for you. Third and final one here, by far the most important, is to be a man on a mission. And I know that sounds really, really silly, but you could have the best plan in the world, right? You could be eating a lot of saturated fat, monounsaturated fat, increase your fat intake, really prioritize weight training, get a big metabolic boost every single time, fully optimize your dieting regimen, fully optimize your workout regimen. But if you're not on a mission to move your health to the top of the priority list and put yourself first every single time, you have a temptation come your way, or you have to have an uncomfortable conversation with somebody, or you face any sort of barrier or obstacle, and you continue to move yourself on the bottom of the totem pole, the bottom of the priority list instead of the top, then you're gonna get bottom of the totem pole results every single time. Bottom of the priority list results every single time. You get what you put in at the end of the day. So if you're on a mission, you want to stack all the odds in your favor. You put yourself first every single time. You let nothing get in your way from you seeing the results that you not only want to see, but need to see for a lot of different reasons, mostly health reasons and confidence reasons, then you'll do it because it's important to you. But you won't do it if it's not important to you. And if it isn't, then I highly recommend for you guys to click off this video anyway, because everything that you're going to be learning in this video means nothing if you don't have the accountability and the discipline to apply it yourselves. And it's one thing if you can't do it on your own and you want help, but it's a completely different story if you need help and you don't want it and you're not willing to move yourself up on the priority list. Let's say you have Arnold's plan example to get a really big chest, where you target each layer of the chest methodically and perfectly, where you're getting that chest adduction, etc. You need to do X, you need to do Y, you need to do Z. You need to meet the criteria for you to get to your desired outcome, to hit that goal, to get a big chest. But if you're not a man on a mission where your priority is not up there to get a big chest, then what do you expect when you don't take action at all whatsoever? You don't get the results that you want to see. It's the exact same thing every single time. So Wally, for example, we just started working together last week and he lost 5 pounds in his first couple of days working with me one-on-one, but he was done being where he was at. He was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and he wanted to draw that line in the sand now instead of later to see results in the present instead of tomorrow, because we all know what tomorrow means. If we put something off until tomorrow and we don't want to do it today, we're never going to want to do it. And he realized that he has been putting his health on the back burner in the back seat for a while, and it was time to pick it up and put it in the front seat and really prioritize it. And that's exactly what you guys have to do now. I mean, for the most part, eating really healthy and exercising is pretty simple. You just need to have the discipline and the priority of your health being that number one priority to take the action that you know you need to take, or else some bad things will happen down the line, because we all have some deeper reasons as to why we want to lose the weight that we want to lose. So if you want to fast track your results and get a flat stomach and start losing weight consistently and sustainably, then I highly recommend for you to click the link on the top, middle, or bottom of the video description to speak with me directly to see if I can help you do just that. But other than that, that's pretty much it for this video. Feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at It's Bobby O'Brien. The link to that will be in the middle of the video description. And I will see you guys in the next video.